Hey, everybody. I don't have to tell you that we're in trouble. The world's in trouble, the industrialized world at least. And Las Vegas in trouble as well. In fact, more so than most because Las Vegas, what we call Sin City, has a tourist-based economy. So what does that mean if you're just in high school and haven't taken economics or junior high school? It means that Las Vegas gets its money from people visiting it and spending money and then going back home to wherever they come from. With this pandemic, that flow of people into Las Vegas has slowed to a mere trickle. The situation is so bad that buffets have been shut down, and most notably on Saturday, Wynn Resorts CEO Matt Maddox made a public video where he said that, among other things, his employees and everyone watching the video should expect occupancy rates in, quote, the low teens, unquote, for a region that has enjoyed occupancy rates commonly in the 90s. That years ago, as far back as, or if you like recently, as 2016, a record year, would have been considered unthinkable. But here we are. That impacts the Las Vegas Stadium Authority and its ability to comfortably and effectively pay the annual bond debt service that, plus the debt coverage ratio, I'll explain in a minute what that is, that comes with the $647 million bond issue that was released for the $750 million subsidy, though technically $745 million for really being exact, that was applied to pay for the Las Vegas Raiders, formerly the Oakland Raiders, now called Allegiant Stadium, what we also refer to as Las Vegas Stadium. How? Well, I did a comparison using what March of last year statistically looked like for the Stadium Authority. I took numbers from the visitor statistics for the Las Vegas, or rather from Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Bureau, and mixed them with statistics from the Las Vegas Stadium Authority's documents from past meetings. And this is what I learned, and this is what I calculated. In March of 2019, the region that is paying money into Clark County to pay off the bond issue enjoyed just over 3.7 million visitors, and of those, 552,000 people were convention goers. The revenue that was generated from the stadium tax was approximately $4.4 million. That was still not quite enough to pay off the bond debt for that month, which is basically the total debt service for the year divided by 12 to give you a monthly number. Okay, and then subtract that from the revenue. What you got was a negative $27,000 result. But in fairness, nothing the Stadium Authority couldn't handle with ease. This time, it's different. If we are to go by the occupancy rate statistics we have heard and have been recited by Mr. Maddox and others, that would lead to a total visitor rate of just 480,000 people, approximately. It would cause, basically, a final stadium tax revenue bring of only approximately $600,000, I believe $626,000. And because the bond debt estimate would be, for that month alone, would be just over $4 million, the final result will be a loss of $3,600,000. Now, the actual numbers are in the description and the blog below, and there is a more detailed post that I've written at Oakland News Now that you can read if you click on the link to it from this vlog. So where we are is that with respect to the $9 million fund, reserve fund, that will be 40% depleted. Then there's the $56 million debt service reserve, which Jeremy Arguello said that would last for the next year. So the Las Vegas Stadium Authority would have you believe that, oh, it's got this and there's not a problem. But there is a problem, because we're talking about a 30-year bond issue, not short term. Even then there would still be a big problem. But I digress. We're talking about a bond issue that has an annual debt service that increases from $33 million today to $40 million by 2029. It starts its increase next year after having decreased from 2019 to 2020, and then it goes up. As it's going up, the trend for Las Vegas visitor rates has been down. And this certainly is not going to help. I would love for this recovery to be fast and immediate. We have a consumer-based economy that we have to repair as soon as possible, without question. And that includes the repair of the Las Vegas economy. So how do we help Las Vegas? I think most important, how does Las Vegas help itself? And how does the Stadium Authority deal help itself? And the answer is in a provision that was taken out of the Nevada Senate bill that gave life to the bond issue and what is now called Allegiant Stadium. It was to be a tax increment revenue zone of 25 miles in diameter around the stadium. If it had been implemented, and the original design of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority carried out without change, the Stadium Authority would have been the most powerful entity of its kind in the United States, if not the world. It would have been able to acquire property. It would have been able to create tax increment financing zones within the 25-mile zone. That's taken away. My suggestion is that a modified version of that plan be brought back and mated with these plans that I've seen for a stadium development zone that would dictate where such buildings and uses as bars and restaurants and new hotels go. Design a tax increment financing zone such that it includes property taxes, something that wasn't done in the original proposal. The original proposal only had sales taxes and use taxes. Sales taxes and use taxes are flimsy and paltry compared to the dollar flows from property taxes. But if you combine all three, you have a more robust tool from which to boost the economy around the stadium and, by extension, the Las Vegas Strip. The target for identifying buildings to go in the zone around it should be $700 million in assessed value. Now, you're probably going to say, well, what do you mean? Tax increment financing calculation works like this. You have a base year. This is the first year of, let's say, a 20-year bond issue. So you're going year 1, year 2, year 3. Each year, the assessed value goes up. And you take that overall increase and subtract it, that overall first year number for assessed value, and subtract it from your base year. So if your base year assessed value is at 1 and this is 2, then it's 1. You subtract 2 from 1, and you get 1, and then times the tax rate for property tax gives you your revenue. And then you repeat that process for the next year. Let's say year 3, you have year 1, year 2, year 2, you take the assessed value for that year minus 0, it's the base year, but that value is 1. And so let's say that's 2 minus 1, or 3 minus 1, is 2. So you had 1 here, 2 here, and then 3. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So you take that 2, multiply that times the tax rate, and you add it to the base year assessed value revenue you had the year before. So if you repeat that step for as many times as there are years in the bond collection schedule. So if you're talking about a 30-year bond issue, then the collection schedule will be for 30 years. If it's 20 years, then it's going to be for 20 years. The larger the assessed value for the base year, the less percentage growth year to year has to be realized in land for you to see a revenue stream that can be effectively used in a number of ways within the zone. I'll get to that in a minute. If you target a $700 million base year assessed value, maybe you have Boyd Gaming over here, perhaps they want to be a part of it. Other uses that are high dollar, that are owned by other uses that are high dollar and owned by owners that would be happy to be within the zone. Combine it. When you get to 700 million, there's your base year. Then you accelerate it. Now, the question is, how much could you get out of that? Let me put it this way. At about roughly 3% growth over a 40-year period, you could realize easily $600 million, very easily, in terms of revenue from a bond issue, or for a bond issue, from the zone. $700 million base year assessed value, 40 years, okay? 40 years. If it were $2 billion, you could realize, and the growth rate were at 4%, you could realize roughly $1.4 billion. So something to think about. But the point is, given the way Nevada's state tax system is, it's not like California's Prop 13, you can artificially increase the land value by 2% each year, which something in Nevada might consider, okay? But given Nevada's current property tax structure, the best way to realize a better flow of revenue from tax increment financing is to have as large in value a base year assessed value as possible. So let's say 600 million can be realized for that use. Set aside part of it, 100 million, for the bond issue, so that the debt service reserve fund goes from $56 million funded to $156 million funded, which stands at puts it in better stead. That's 34% that's not funded right now. They could take care of that in a snap. The remainder, $500 million, could be used for, I think the most immediate concern should be the restoration of the health of businesses within the zone. And since that zone would most likely include part of the Las Vegas South Strip, the Las Vegas South Strip. And how could that look? What could that assistance look like? What should it look like? In my view, the main task is to put money in the pockets of the workers. You make sure your workers are whole first. You can do that two ways: by direct subsidy to the workers and by direct subsidy to the businesses. So that should be priority number one. Priority number two should be setting aside money for the right now arguably unfunded obligation to pay for infrastructure, off-site infrastructure improvements around the stadium. That Kimmy Horn study that laid out the streets and roads that would need to be upgraded to accommodate the expected traffic from the operation of Allegiant Stadium. And then for the rest, a planning fund. And the shape, how that shape should look, I think should be the final decision of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority Board in conjunction with the Clark County Planning Department. So there you are. There's my idea. But it's based on an idea that should have been implemented, and you would say, why wasn't it? It wasn't implemented because at the time, Sheldon Adelson, through his chief operating officer, said that he would pay all stadium cost overruns and off-site infrastructure improvements. So when he made that pledge, the need for the tax increment zone went away. Now, some of you would say, hey, doesn't that violate, if you will, the part of the Senate bill that locks us into a percentage, I believe it's 39% cap for public money that would be raised to go into the stadium? The answer is technically yes, but this is an emergency. And one dynamic that everybody agrees was essentially ignored by the way Senate Bill 1 was set up is the one that saw this skyrocketing growth in land values around the stadium with no way to capture that land value for immediate use in terms of paying for improvements around the stadium. This is a way to do that. But it's also a way to save jobs and arguably to save lives. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube.